Well, it all comes down to this. I have a warning to give you. I'm going to use 3 articles and an X post. And some of these posts I cannot share on this channel because of the vile language. And what's concerning to me is that there are people that are putting out the most heinous posts of wanting to see Trump assassinated, killed. They're so angry that the shooter missed. And these people have millions of followers. It's very concerning. I have a warning, but at the end of the warning, I also have hope and a plan. And there's not a lot of people with plans. I think most of this nation right now is just drop-jawed at how gnarly it's getting. This is very bad. I actually drove out here and I'm not standing outside for a reason, because right next to me, and I've had a run-in with a crazy liberal person before here, as I was just walking down this path to do a live stream up on these rocks. And I told you the story of how he goes, "What are you, some YouTuber?" As I'm walking by, I just said hello. And he said, are you a Trumpster? I couldn't even fathom. I don't know. It must have been because I was tall, white, blonde. Ironically, he was shorter and white, but it's funny. It's crazy to me that there are some people out there. You want to talk about race wars? The left has turned our nation so nutball for some people, and you're going to see in this X post, it's turning white people against white people. This is absolutely blowing my mind. And we live in a nation now where certain group of people lack the ability for critical thinking. Their emotions are pulling them away from being able to think critically. And that's why this coming collapse in the economy, which will be short-lived. I hope people understand that. It will be short-lived. I'm talking about not like the Great Depression. But the reason why I'm sitting in the truck right now is because I'm about to do this video, and there are 3 people acting a little irrational. And I could just imagine what their take on what I'm about to speak on would be, and there would probably be a confrontation. And so if their truck's a few feet from me, if they hear any of these words, they're probably going to lose their mind. But we'll see, because we're live, how this one goes. First story is out of Zero Hedge. How many people type 1 if you've heard of the show Morning Joe? With that, these people right here. Have you heard of these people? Have you seen this? Type 1 if you've seen these people. Type 2 if you think they're completely nuts. And just, I would be typing 2 along with you. Story says MSNBC has taken its celebrated Morning Joe off the air on Monday, reportedly on fears that their well-known leftist hosts could say the wrong thing or something deeply insensitive about the Saturday Trump assassination attempt, which could leave the network in a bind. It's a lot more than a bind. I'll explain this in a second. The show is missing in action on its crucial day of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. The Progressive News Network confirmed the decision to preempt its influential and top-rated morning show after a CNN inquiry Sunday evening. CNN confirms the network said the show will resume airing on Tuesday. As speculation abounds and as some try to dubiously claim that it's normal for the Morning Joe not to air during a major political news event, NBC issued the following statement. Given the gravity and complexity of this unfolding story, NBC News Now, and MSNBC have remained in rolling breaking news coverage since Saturday evening, said a spokesperson. What is happening right now is the left media has figured out that the world is backing the other side. I just watched post after post after post on X of world leaders. I just watched one from India's world leader. I'm blanking on his name. Sorry. He stated, "How could this happen to my friend? I am deeply saddened." Like the outpouring of support from world leaders is pretty impressive. While those same world leaders are on record laughing or mocking or rolling their eyes at our current president that, wait till you hear this next news story, can't even just utter a full sentence. Our current president has been, and let me ask you this, type 3 if you believe he has a depraved mind. And I'm not talking about the current person you see right now. I'm talking about the congressman that was in Congress in the 90s and the 2000s. Type 3 if you believe he has a depraved mind. I'm here to tell you right now, I believe personally that he has been given over to his depraved mind. It's actually in the Bible. God talks about giving people over to their depraved minds, letting them run loose with their fantasies, thinking they are the gods, thinking they are the ones in charge. When in all reality, Jesus Christ sits on a throne right now because he rose from the dead, defeated death, and now we are his hands and his feet. And I will tell you this honestly, and I just don't give a rip about what people think. I have a relationship with Jesus Christ, and I can tell you this. We are his hands and feet, and we have been given over the media. Now say amen if you agree with that. This is getting too nutty, and I knew it was going to get this bad, and it's going to get worse. I know that sounds crazy. It is going to get worse than this. There are going to be more attacks before the election, and then coming after the election, an economic collapse that for the last 3 years, I have been wanting to see you get prepared for, so that when this happens, you're able to strike, because there is going to be a narrow window. I'll explain that later. And yes, some people asked about the sale on the Mortgage Master course. We extended it. It's 24 hours if you want it. The link's down below. Yeah. Now, going on about the Morning Joe, for them to have these people taken off is pretty impressive. The press release followed with, as we continue to cover this story into the week, the networks will continue to simulcast, alternating between NBC News, NBC News Now, and so on. CNN then admitted the following based on one of its sources. Conservative pundit Laura Lomer sounded off in the wake of this decision, pointing out the following. NBC has pulled Morning Joe off the air because they don't think their leftist hosts can control themselves from celebrating the attempted assassination of President Trump. Let's be honest, the rhetoric from MSDNC, CNN, WAPO, New York Times, and Joe Biden is a contributing factor to why Donald Trump almost had a bullet in his skull this week. Well, the reason why he didn't was because God moved that bullet off. That's what I believe. Type 4 if you believe that. Type 5 if you don't believe that. I'm curious. I think there's a lot of Americans right now waking up that were on the sidelines. Those ones that say my vote doesn't count. I don't want to talk politics because it's not my thing, right? I think yesterday morning, a lot of Americans woke up and went, you know what? This ain't cool. This has gotten out of control. I know it sounds crazy that it would take this to say that, but I honestly do believe that. And this is the day not to sit. Thank you, Johnny, for the J Bravo for the super chat. This is not the day to sit on the sidelines anymore. This is the time to be active. But here is the other thing that I want you to understand. The left is calling for violent protest. I watched a clip from Mark Dice the other day where he rolled through 10 or 12 congressional leaders calling for violent protests. Yet they want to try our ex-president for talking about you need to protest or peacefully protest this on January 6th. I know I'm hitting all these key words, and I don't give a crap. We have to stand up for our rights. But the sad thing is, part of standing up for our rights is not running out with torches and pitchforks. It's seeing where the real true evil comes from. And it comes from a money printing machine that has been around since the early 1900s. And that is what has given a certain class of people and a certain type of personality of people power and authority to be able to do whatever, say whatever they want year after year. And now it's hitting a breaking point. Do you understand that? So we have to have an action plan to take back the money. And how do you do that? You don't go knock off a store. You don't go rob a bank. You get out of debt and you start to learn how to invest and get ready for this opportunity. The greatest opportunity, the biggest economic collapse since the Great Depression is on its way right now. And you only have so much time to get ready for this. I know this is the dumbest analogy ever, but think about that time in Star Wars at the end, the first Star Wars, where Luke was down in that tunnel trying to destroy the Death Star. And there was this narrow tunnel he had to get through, and he had people attacking him. And he had this little tiny shot, this one shot. Well, imagine this economic crash coming and you're not ready for this one time, this one little brief time where the bank seize up their lending. They still lend, but only to specific people with specific things on their balance sheet, their credit. And all of a sudden, every asset class is dropping. I'm not joking. I've seen that future and it's gnarly. It's scary. Next story is a speech marred by latest huge gaffe. They're talking about the president of the United States. It's out of Zero Hedge. It says Americans can't count on the Secret Service to secure a rooftop perch just 400 feet from Donald Trump's podium, but they can count on President Biden to deliver a huge verbal blunder every single time he's in major spotlight. This is interesting. The latest proof came on Sunday evening. They're being so quiet right now. As Biden delivered a special address to the American people from the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. It was just the third time in his term that he used that setting. It imparts the highest gravitas to a presidential message, but only if the executive in chief in question is capable of speaking even roughly verbatim the words that appear before him on a teleprompter. This is absolutely not the case with Joe Biden. Prompted by Saturday's stunning assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania that nearly killed Trump while taking the life of a spectator and critically injuring two more, Biden's 6-minute speech centered around this. This is what he said. And I quote, "In America, we resolve our differences at the battle box." The flub was remarkable because it was the latest in a specific pattern in which Biden's brain serves up a word or phrase that's the opposite of what he's trying to convey. The chief example of that phenomenon was when introducing Ukrainian President Zelensky, he introduced him as President Putin. A couple hours later, at a highly anticipated high-stakes press conference, he told reporters, "I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be my vice president did I think she's not qualified to be president." And then we have absolutely amazing breaking news about Judge Ellen Cannon has dismissed Donald Trump's classified documents case, ruling that the appointment of special counsel Jack Smith was unconstitutional. We have been watching a divide in our nation at the same time that we've been watching a divide in our world's economy. This is absolutely mind-blowing. The question is, are you preparing for an absolute crash? Check this out. This is one of the only videos I can share on X that doesn't have insane cursing.
I just found out about this shit. It just happened. I haven't even had a second to process. You're telling me somebody finally had the balls to bring a pew-pew, and he missed! We were a second away! We were a centimeter away from half of the problem being gone, and you missed! There was a white man attached to that trigger. I know it! We were a centimeter!
Now, think about this. Like she just said, there was a white man attached to that trigger. She knows it. The reason why she'd say that is because her own race has been demonized so much that she believes it. The left has injected so much hate into our nation. It is astounding. And I want you to understand this. Please contemplate this. If you do not believe this next phrase that I'm about to say, you please do yourself the biggest favor and use critical thinking skills and calm down and think and mull it over before you speak out loud or you type a comment. The left is so messed up in the head that when Donald Trump wins, and he is going to win, hashtag Trump if you agree with that, they're going to pull the plug on the money printing scheme and the stock stabilization scheme. And there you are going to watch a downturn in the markets that you have not seen since the Great Depression, because they believe, and I do somewhat agree with them, that there is a certain segment of the population that will believe that it's because Trump won that the economy is collapsing, so they'll blame him. I want to go fully on record as stating this because I believe it to be a very real scenario. You need to get ready for this because this is an opportunity. We strike while the iron's hot, and when the iron's hot is when everything is crashing and people are angry, they're confused. I know this sounds crazy, but this is how billionaires have been made, very wealthy people over the centuries. This is coming whether you like it or not. The question is, are you going to be ready for it? Say, thank you, Outmudden, for the super chat. If you were upset that you weren't ready for the Great Recession and weren't buying up houses hand over fist as they were falling in price nationwide, type 9. And then type 10 if you're one of those people that, whether you are part of it or not, are now getting ready, are excited about this. Because we can't stop this ball from rolling, but we can take back the wealth that was stolen from our nation by this group of people that run the medias, the mainstream media. And if you're getting ready for this, then I congratulate you. But we have to get more people out there. It's one thing if you're crushing it. It's no fun if you're the only one. So thank you to everybody that shares these videos. Thank you to everybody that hits the subscribe button. You're awesome. There is a 24-hour sale if you want on the Mortgage Master course to get you ready, your balance sheet, your personal life, teaching you everything about loaning money and how to use money properly to make money, not to get you into debt. That's what's very serious about this. We want to use the bank's money when the bank can't find anyone to loan money because they tighten up their lending. And we want to use that money to increase that money. And then what I want to see, and this is the biggest thing, you buy those homes. We show you how to pay them off fast. The rentals, have other people pay off your rentals, and then you turn around and you sell them to other people, and you provide good loans to other people at great rates, but then you're getting 90% of that payment and interest in your pocket. You have now officially became a bank, and banks don't want this out there. They don't want this information out there. That's the goal. Get people ready to take advantage of this, qualify for the best mortgages out there, pay off the homes, let other people pay those homes off, then turn around and sell them back to people at great rates. And that is going to turn all of us into our own bank. That is what the government does not want. That's what they fear. And nobody's out there teaching this. Hope you got something out of today. The Economic Ninja is out.